Hello everyone, this is CounterYolo, bringing you another video talking about survivability in Star Trek Online. And for our Alpha Squadron Elite fleet, we are heading into Season 2 this week. Starting with a lot of different events going on throughout the week. Of note, there's definitely one Wednesday. I lead the second Escort Group though. So if you want to be a part of that, feel free to private message me, or to leave a comment on the video to see if you can join the fleet and be a part of the group. Now, obviously, since I'm a tank captain, I use a tank escort build, which you might think that's not really that efficient, right? And that is definitely true. Like, obviously, cruisers, destroyers, warships would do better than even escorts in many cases, because the way that you would typically survive with escorts is that you do a lot of your strafing runs against an enemy, which you quickly fly in, do your damage, and fly out. Then you fly back in, you do damage, and fly out. You keep on doing that over and over again until the enemy is just dead. Unless you're fighting against a really high tier cruiser, and then they just never die. Or if they are going to die, you have to use an escort group in order to take them down. All right, so for those different events, Specializations Intelligence Brand 7 is going on Wednesday. My escort group is going to be on Saturday, and it'll be on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because I'm not on the East Coast. My time that it says that it's going to start is a little bit different. But what I'll be doing today is showing you my escort tank build, and I'm going to obviously use Polarons, because of course that's my favorite one to be able to tank really easily. I'll be going through this really quickly. There will be a link in the description below this video, also to STO Academy, going over this stuff in there. Keep in mind, on STO Academy, this console right here, the Morphogenetic Matrix controller from the home mission, it's just right here, as well as one of my particular traits does not show up on STO Wiki, and so there's going to be a gap there where it's just going to have an extra tactical console there. It'll be in the notes at the very end of it as to, like, here's what I would actually put there, but it's not there. So just keep that in mind as I go through this build for you all. This is one of the two escorts that I'm actually willing to tank with, because it actually tanks very similar to cruisers actually, and it is the RXS CounterYolo, the Risian Corvette. Now this ship, even though it doesn't have a special bridge, it does have the most customizable options for paint and like cosmetic stuff on your ship inside the game, which is really nice too, for those of you that are interested in all that stuff. Special things about this ship that makes it really nice: it's got decent stats, and it also has bonus defense, and it also is the fastest. It literally is the fastest ship in the entire game. So even though it says that it's a Racing Corvette, it actually is an escort. If you actually look at the stats compared to other escorts, and also if you just look at the raw categories on the STO Wiki playable starship stuff, this is an escort. A very nice escort. And so this is what I will be using at least to start off with in the second escort group this week. I also occasionally use the Alachi Sateth Tier 6 escort as well, just because that ship, even though it doesn't have the cool stuff that this one has, that ship has the highest hull of any escort in the entire game, and has the second highest shields in the game, only beaten by the Tier 6 Zenkethi escort. That ship has significantly less hull, so my opinion, the Alachi ship is just much better. It's also one of the reasons why I think I've told you all before, but my favorite ships in the game are the Voth ships and the Alachi ships, because both of them have very high base hull and shield stats of all the ships inside the game. Alright, so inside this build, it technically is a 4-4 build, but because this is an escort, your experimental weapons basically all of them that I found have a 360-degree arc. So even though it's a 4-4 build, it's really a 4-3 build with another special weapon that's another 360-degree arc. So you really are. For me, I'm still able to use my normal 350-degree arc in the front, and then all my weapons in the back have the full 360 degrees. So that is all awesome and really nice. So for my build, if you've seen my current Victory's Life Polaron build, none of this should really be a surprise. I use the Advanced Piezo Polaron with its two-piece component because it gives me additional Polaron weapon damage. And then also the other part with this, the Focuser, is basically another tactical console. But it doesn't need to be in the tactical console slots, so that's actually pretty nice. So I basically have just about 5 tactical consoles on this ship, whenever you account the two-piece bonus along with this other stuff inside here. Outside the Advanced Piezo Polaron beam array, I have 3 normal Piezo Polaron beam arrays. As a tank, the procs or the modifiers actually don't matter too much to me. It's just having it up to epic will allow me to have a much higher DPS in general. For my deflector and impulse engines, I use the ones from the colony. I use the preservation one for the best survival stats in the game. Plus, this cold crit modifier gives me additional crit severity and crit chance based upon my hull percentage, which is pretty nice because as tanks, you're going to be at high percentage for the majority of the time. As I mentioned in the previous video, the fleet engines is, in my opinion, the strongest one-piece engines in the entire game, because as you are moving, you get an increase to your shield resistance, which if you are a beam tank, you'll be able to be at full impulse just about the whole time. So you'll be able to have an additional 15% shield resistance almost the whole time that you're fighting. So that's actually pretty nice to be able to have for your ship. All right. In my opinion, that's like the best. That's actually the best engines in the entire game for survivability. The number 2 would probably be the Kabali one, just because the Kabali one has a recharge time reduction on hull and shield healing bridge officers that scales with your engine power. So like if you're an engineer and you're spamming a lot of your engine power abilities or your power level abilities, you'll get an increase to your healing bridge officer cooldowns too, or a better bridge officer cooldown. The Lucari one's also pretty high up here too. The Lucari one gives you a lot of flight speed and turn rate whenever you get a lot of damage in a very short amount of time. For my warp core and shields, I'm using the Kabali two-piece with the warp core from the Kabali Samsar, and then the shields from the Dust to Dust mission. Dust Quadrant, right here, Dust to Dust. Which in this one you're able to get 3 of the 4 pieces. You are not able to get the warp core here, but you're able to get the other 3. If you don't have the warp core, don't really worry too much about it. Just get a strong regenerative shield if you're actually going to want to tank on an escort. Tanking on an escort is not really recommended, but as the leader of the escort group, and the fact that I wanted you all to be able to focus more on the mechanics of doing escorts rather than trying to learn those. Besides, a lot of you just trying to learn a lot of those maneuvers and things alongside trying to not die. I'm going to be the escort in there tanking for you, so that you can just focus on those maneuvers and doing a lot of damage, so that you have less to worry about, and you can actually learn how to escort and do those things a little bit better inside of the game. All right, so for my F weapons, I of course will have 3 Omnis. I'm using the crafted R&D Omni, the kinetic cutting beam from Omega Reputation Tier 2, and then I'm also using the Gamma Reputation Omni Directional, which is you get from Gamma Reputation Tier 5. Now the special thing about this Omni, as was announced yesterday about the Tier 6 reputations, all of your beam weapons, beam arrays, turrets, cannons, all those types of things inside the game whenever you get to tier 6 in that particular reputation, you'll be able to recraft those weapons, or recraft, or like make those weapons into whatever energy type that you're wanting. So you're not limited to that particular energy type for that particular type of thing. So what this actually means is that whenever you get Gamma Reputation to tier 6 in the Age of Discovery expansion, you can actually transform this into a set omnidirectional plasma beam array, which actually means that my 5.3 suggested tanking setup will actually work for plasma beams as well, besides the other 5 that technically exist inside the game. This also means that we'll also be able to have a broadsiding version of proton weapons now inside of the game too. So that will be really exciting, because then this can be punished a lot more heavily inside the game too in PvP combat. For my experimental weapon, I'm using the Bajoran Interceptor, or 360 degree experimental weapon. There are a couple of other ones inside the game. I really just go for free ships for the most part for escorts, besides the tier 6 Alachi, because that one just happens to be the tankiest one, and I really like being tanky and be able to easily survive stuff and absorb things better inside the game. Just nice. No preference for me in terms of the particular experimental weapon in general. For my devices, for me, I love the red matter capacitor. For this one, you can argue between the subspace field modulator and the temporal negotiator. Especially in PvP next season, I would say temporal negotiator would just be better, simply because you can easily get punished on this next season, because people can actually build proton damage now. Well, proton damage as of next season. And of course, there's other higher tier devices too, which I just don't want. I really just don't care to farm the credits out for it, or missions out for it. For my other consoles inside, I have this is the other part of the 2-piece with the advanced piezo Polaron up here. This is in the Lucario reputation as well. This is basically another Polaron damage console, except instead of crit chance or something else, I get additional flight speed, or flight turn rate, and max shield capacity, which is pretty nice. I also have the Permanent Field Projector from the Anniversary Lucario ship from like a year or two ago. It's the best tanky console in the game because it gives you very high clicky hull and shield regen, so it's really the best one for tanking. The obfuscation screen is from the Shenzhou Light Exploration Cruiser, or as the game calls it, the Walker Light Exploration Cruiser. Walker class, but the prominently you see in the show is the Shenzhou, so I always call it the Shenzhou. It gives you a lot of base good stats with accuracy and defense and stuff. And the clicky, it's the ultimate. I'm about to die. I've exhausted everything, so fine. I'm going to go invincible for a few seconds and heal all of my stuff here. And then whenever I come back, I now have a few seconds in which I have a bunch of bonus all damage, 120% bonus all damage, equivalent to the amount of time that I was untargetable and invincible and healing. Not as great for tanking, but this is the ultimate, like, if I've exhausted all my other survival stuff with this and traits and things, and I really don't want to die, like if I'm going to have like a super long cooldown for my death, then I'll activate this ability. And then come back to the fight within a few seconds. You have to use it for at least 3 seconds. But yeah, it is fairly strong. For the Risian Corvette, you also have this special survival console called the Subspace Wake Generator. Basically, it gives you a very large burst of speed. So like I'm flying normally, then boom, I'm able to boost really far, really fast, to really get out of harm's way. But you can easily combine that with evasive maneuvers and get out of dodge really easily inside of the game. But not only does it give you a bonus boost, but if you happen to have a lot of enemies like literally on your tail, you will also slow them down too. Which, when you combine those things together, plus the fact that the Risian Corvette is the fastest ship, like if you look at raw base stats and things for your modifiers and things, this one has the highest base flight speed ratio for everything, and so it is the literal fastest ship in the game. So with this, like, the only way that enemies will be able to catch up to you is if they use pilot abilities to go faster and catch up to you. For other consoles, this is the one lobby console that I really am still using. It's called binaural neural infusion circuits. It has very significant crit severity, combined that it also gives me additional hull capacity. The additional control piece is nice, but the crit severity plus hull capacity by themselves are completely fine. Hostile Acquisition is the really cheap PvP and tanks console for this season. If you are a tank player or a PvP player, get this console before next season and when it gets really expensive. This gives you a super high amount of accuracy, along with control expertise, and then an active vehicle called Forceful Inspection, which is an all damage resistance debuff and all damage debuff after a 5-second hold on an enemy. Which in a PvE environment basically means that you target this at an enemy, and then after that 5 seconds, that they will be attacking you for the next few seconds. Which for a tank, that's basically a taunt, and so that's really nice for me. In PvP, holds and stuff like this is also pretty powerful, combined that it has a very high accuracy based rating on it. This is extremely nice. So like if I'm using like Beamfire Will and I'm losing a bit of accuracy while this thing's going on, because I have such high base accuracy to begin with on my ship, this the cost for those abilities is not a big deal at all. Alright, so for the last survivor console on here is the DPRM console, because it's my damage distance rating console. It also gives me some passive directed energy damage, which is a little bit more important for escorts than for cruisers, because cruisers have command attract fire. Plus, its clicky gives a really good hull regen, and it gives me bonus damage resistance. Basically, comparing these two guys, it gives a bit of bonus damage resistance. This one just gives me, instead of having bonus damage resistance, this one gives me a lot of shield regen combined with the hull regen. Overall, between these two, Protomatter is much more powerful. DPRM is a little bit easier to access for Romulan and Klingon characters on the exchange. This one you have to get the anniversary ship, which if you're on console, I think there's like a 2-week window that you're able to get it. But yeah, for my tactical consoles, I use the Morphogenetic Energy Matrix in place of, where are you? In place of my energy console, the Plasmonic Leech. Because it gives me the weapon power cost which I need, which combined with my space trait called Supremacy, I'm actually able to use this as just my one real power console. And alongside the power thing, I get a decent amount of Polaron damage, draining expertise, and if enemies happen to be in the rear where I'm weaker, this also helps to mitigate that a tiny bit as well. And then I also have 3 normal tactical Polaron consoles too. Base stats, I have 70 accuracy. When I'm at full impulse, this defense goes up to 110, I believe. Yeah, 110 defense. So it actually is pretty nice for accuracy and defense overall. This stuff's a little bit lower, but whenever Honor Dead kicks in, it will go up decent as well. I still can easily get one shot because this is an escort after all. It only has, what, 70,000 hulls, so not the highest in the world. For my space traits, the free ones in here is Accurate and Elusive for more accuracy and defense, Bulkhead Technician for more hit points, Techie for increased passive and active hull healing, and Grace Under Fire because this is an engineer, and this allows this ability, which otherwise would be on a 4-minute cooldown, to basically be on a 90-second cooldown. Which is pretty nice. The other perishable traits in here, Ablative Shell, which gives me a passive hull heal because I'm a tank. It basically is every 30 seconds. This is going to proc. Gives me a tiny bit of resistance, but more importantly, gives me more hit points. Inspirational Leader, which you really should replace with Repair Cruise on the exchange. Repair Cruise is basically the space trade version of Honor Dead. Gives you a bit less of all damage resistance and hull regen, but it is stacking. I haven't bought it for this character because I've been ignoring this character a bit for a while. So I used Inspirational Leader instead because that was part of a meta kind of space trade thing a while back in the day, going back a few years. Pattern Recognition gives me additional defense and shield hardness during combat, which is pretty nice because getting additional defense and shield resistance is pretty nice. Secret Command Cones is almost a must-have for PvP combat. It gives you additional resistance to controls and disables, and you can have this refresh every 30 seconds, and it lasts for 10 seconds. So basically, you can have Secret Command Codes potentially on a third of the time in PvP combat. Alright, so for space trades, I use Honor Dead and Shield Overload. Those are the two strongest survival stuff inside the game, and those two plus Invincible are very, very strong. I use Supremacy as that other power thing so that I can use 8 beam weapons and be okay on power. And then I use Improved Pedal to the Metal because I'm always going to be at full impulse as a tank, as a beam tank anyway. If you're going to mirror this build, you want it for like a tank build, but you might be at full impulse the whole time. Attack Pattern Delta Prime is a very good alternative, but it does cost a pretty penny on the exchange as well. Basically about half of a regular like lobby console, or sorry, lobby starship on the exchange. But since a lot of those lobby starships that you're really wanting, you're really just getting it for the traits anyway. Like these two guys here, I literally just got ships just for the trait. This is a little bit cheaper version to get sort of traits inside the game, but it's still decently expensive too. For my space reputation, I use energy refigurator so that my outgoing damage heals me. From the gamma reputation, I have additional weapon damage as well as shield resistance because those are both pretty valuable for doing threat duration and surviving through it. I have active hull hardening for additional damage resistance whenever I actually need it. And then I have automated protomatter conduits or circuits, whatever it's called, as just an extra protomatter proc whenever I'm getting critically hit. And because of the NPC buffs in this season, this procs pretty constantly. So like this lasts 15 seconds and it has a 30-second total cooldown. So like it's 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off. Enemies crit fairly often now, so this will be on pretty constantly if you're going to be a tank. For my active reputation, as I told you all guys, for beam tanks, don't use Tetrion Cascade. The other 5 are much more valuable. For my stations, I use 2 attack pattern deltas because that combined with my Dakukan bridge officers, that gives me an additional 300% threat generation, which combined with Threatening Stance gives me 600% threat generation. So y'all would have to do 6 times the amount of damage as me in order for the enemies to attack you instead of me. Which for escorts isn't actually insanely difficult, but you still have to be able to do that. I also use Beamfire Will 3 and 2, just because I like to have 2 Beamfire Wills, and I dedicate all of my duty officers to the additional threat generation and reducing the cooldown times of attack pattern delta, so that between these two guys, just spamming between the 2 attack pattern delta will be up almost constantly, so that I'll have that additional 300% threat generation almost the whole time. For engineering slots, I have engineering team 1, Versary Polarity 3, and emergency power to shields 3. If you want to go more aggressive, you definitely could use emergency power to weapons 3, and that would be just fine too. As a tank, I really wanted to still be able to use shield overload, and if I didn't have emergency power to shields, then I could use shield overload. So I value that a little bit more. And then for my 1 science slot, I have science team. For the Lieutenant Universal, I put in Science because otherwise you only have one Science, and that's kind of sad. So I've Hazard Matters 1 and Transfer Skill Strike 2 because those are my standards that I typically have for Science. I typically also have a Lieutenant Commander's Science for a Gravity Well, but that doesn't exist and is not a possibility on this build or on this ship in general. For Specializations, I have Merc Worker Primary and Pilot Secondary. This is the most ideal for tanking in space. However, Merc Worker Command is definitely a close second because you get additional hull capacity combined with that you get a lot of regen based upon your max hull. So those two synergize very, very well. Combined with that, the regen was the best thing that scaled with the expansion. For the general skill tree itself, it's the same as my other builds. 1 in hull restoration, 2 hull capacity, 1 in shield restoration, 2 in shield capacity, all 3 in weapon training, 2 in DPS flow for more DPS, control and drain for more power, control for the resistances, and normally would also be for gravity well, but I just don't have it on this character, and I'm not gonna respec just for a for one little mission. I have full on accuracy and defense, pretty nice. All 3 points in hull plating for more damage resistance. That I didn't invest in consoles because this is a lot more efficient. 1 point in damage control and shield regeneration for additional passive shield and hull regeneration, which is pretty nice. 2 points in shield hardness for additional shield resist. 2 points in crit severity and crit chance because these third points went over to here. A point in each one of these things for power for my ship because having additional power is really valuable for engineering. EPG is basically wasted, but that would normally be to enhance gravity well. 3 long range sensors because that helps with the distance penalty stuff here so that this does more damage even when I'm farther away. 3 points in shield pin because that's just better for science and engineers overall for most energy weapons inside the game besides Tetrion. And then the 3 points in shield mastery because that's just nice too. The most important thing down here is threat control. In that whenever I activate this thing, it gives me additional 100% threat generation because otherwise this would be 200% threat generation. If you're not a tank and you have this, then you have a negative 100% threat generation, just passively if it's not activated. So if you're with a tank, then they're able to tank for you a lot better. Yeah, that's about it for this video. If you have any questions about the second Escort Group in general, feel free to send me a message at my email, CounterYoloGaming@gmail.com, or in-game. On the About page of the YouTube channel is my in-game links to my two accounts. You can either just email me at Rikki Fury at Fury Knight 214, or you can email my other account at Risian Fury at Night Fury 213. That's about it for this video today. I'll probably release a couple more videos later on this week just because there have been a lot of announcements starting to go on. Well, there's also a bazillion videos that I'm trying to make because there's a lot of content for survivability that doesn't exist on YouTube right now that I feel is important to talk about. So expect a lot of videos. I do commit to have at least 2 per week, but whenever there's a lot of announcements, I will have more videos than 2 a week on the channel. Yep, that's about all for now. Thank you all for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.